Hello, everybody. This is me, Woifi, from Hello, I'm Listening. And across from me.
Across the table
in front of me is sitting this weird woman who walked into this house and...
Who walked into this house 6 years ago and
never left again. So I'm housing her now.
Yep, I'm a squatter.
A home squatter, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lately I have a lot of those weird voice
I think
dips.
it's like sympathy puberty because our dog is going through puberty.
Nah,
so I think it's like sympathy puberty.
I don't think so. Because when I work with the guys, one of them has this as well. That's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's the some people would argue it's probably the soy because of the hormone that is in soy.
Estrogen. Or something. Is it estrogen? No, it's not so. Estrogen. It's something else.
Something else.
It's a female hormone though.
That helps me grow my breasts.
Because we eat so much soy that it would cause that.
No, it would not, because it's not the same estrogen that would cause that. It's
also, you would have to eat like...
Nah, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's a misconception. There are different types of that, and it's not the same that would cause that. So you could eat as much as you want, and you would never grow breasts. Yeah.
I don't need to grow breasts. It's fine.
Yeah, maybe other people need to grow breasts.
They can have some of mine.
That's true. You have a lot of breasts.
Right now, there's a lot of boobage happening.
Yeah. How's Mrs. Butterscotch doing?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I was already very sad.
Why sad?
Because I felt left out. Nobody even gave me any attention. So I was like, okay, I should just leave.
What are you talking about? We just talked to you yesterday.
Yes, but not in form of the podcast where people can actually hear me. You see? You know, I don't like talking to you. I like talking to your husband, but not you. I know. You always look at me like with this disgust in your eyes. With this absolute disgust.
Yeah. But
being, you know?
The woman who created me, my mother, she loves you. So
I know the people love me, woman. The people love me.
Person.
No, the people. There has been a unanimous vote. Unanimous.
What is that word?
Unanimous. Don't worry about it. It's a word.
Unanimous.
There you go. Vote. That all the people love me. Yes, there's been a vote.
Has there been a vote or has there been a vote?
A vote. That's what I said, woman. Don't do that.
It's fine. It's just Mrs. Butterscotch tends to have a lot of the same English issues as my husband does.
I already told you I'm from England. I lived in the Spains. That's what the people say when I start there. The Spains.
The Spains.
Oh, yes, I live in the Spains.
So you speak Spanish?
No, I don't. only because I lived there. I don't need to speak Spanish.
It's very American of you.
Yeah. Or French.
Or French.
French, yeah.
Yeah, that's Mrs. Butterscotch, everybody. She's been sleeping in her crate. Once a week we let her out.
Oh, is it already so? Podcast time? Oh, have a cup of tea.
We just feed her butter biscuits. That's all she knows. She doesn't know about any other food.
She also doesn't know about the outside world.
Oh.
Don't look outside, Mrs. Butterscotch. There's nothing out there.
But that's contradictory, isn't it? She has to know about the outside world because
she's old, Danielle,
from everywhere.
Yeah, she's old, Danielle. She knows from her past. But we can't let her out and discover that the real world is still intact.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, wow. So 5 minutes and we're already good to go. Okay, so it's Monday and we usually never record on a Monday, especially in the morning.
Nope. But there's a reason, because tomorrow...
Your daddy is coming.
My dad is coming. My dad is coming to visit.
For your daddy being here?
I am.
Yeah.
It's weird that you're saying it like that, but
What
I'm
do you
gonna
mean?
just try to move past it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because you could just say daddy like normal. Daddy's fine.
That's
Or
what
dad,
I'm
but the way you say, you emphasize it so much.
What are you talking about? How do I do? How?
Because you could say your daddy is coming. You're
Yeah,
like,
that's
your
what I said.
daddy is coming.
Your daddy. That's what I've been saying.
You emphasize it too much.
Are you excited
Also,
to
I'm
spend
not
some time with your
5
daddy?
anymore. I'm not 5 anymore.
Are you
Call him
excited to
Dad.
spend some time with your daddy?
I am. I'm very excited.
What are you going to do with your daddy?
This episode is off the rails already.
What are you going to do with your daddy? It's like,
Oh, Daddy,
Stop saying that.
let's watch TV, Daddy.
all right, kid, hop on my thighs and let's watch TV.
I can't. Nobody says hop on my thigh.
What is the word? I couldn't think of the word. What is the word?
Oh, I say hop on my thighs all the time to my kids.
I'm crying. Hop on my lap.
A lap. That's the
Thighs.
I couldn't think of lap.
Man alive.
Hop on my thighs. Hop on my tender thighs.
If you ever want to get through this, you have to stop because
on my, on my thick thigh.
please stop.
No, but we're going to do lots of things, lots of activities with her daddy. We're probably going to the Spain. No, we're going to the Czech Republic with her daddy because I think her daddy has never been to the Czech. Your daddy has never been to.
Can you please stop?
I want you to run around. When people ask who that is, you say,
That's my daddy. He's coming from the Americas. He took this very, very long road and travel time to be here.
Road.
there's some roads he has traveled.
Oh boy.
Okay, so today we're talking about content versus content. No, the thing is, we watch a lot of things. We enjoy a lot of content. I'm mainly speaking. I don't like the word content, but I'm mainly speaking of like streaming series, movies, watching movies on Blu-ray, DVD. I think it's an interesting topic because a lot of people are complaining that a lot of content these days, a lot of shows, a lot of movies are not like very good anymore these days, or
The majority, the big percentage of what comes out is crap.
crap. Yeah, a lot of people say that, and I think you have to, I don't know, distinct a little bit because you can just throw everything under one wheel.
Umbrella. Wheelhouse.
Elephant.
Genre.
Garden. And so I thought we could talk about it because I'm a little annoyed by people who are complaining about good things when, compared to, the thing is I always try to compare to days where we had only movies in movie theaters or DVDs, basically, essentially
Or like cable.
or cable,
TV.
yeah. Classic television where you knew, okay, this movie is first like it's a TV premiere on the Friday and you haven't seen it yet, or you have missed it.
Or like
in
the
cinema.
only way you found out about movies coming out is by going to the movies. Do you remember that was like a thing?
I mean, sure, trailers were not a thing until 2005.
Yes, you would like go to the movies and you would see movie trailers
yeah.
for new movies coming, and then you'd get really
Or
excited
you
about them.
bought like magazines with previews of things. Oh, this movie's coming out. This movie's coming out. Yeah, it's pretty insane and that's not that long ago.
Nope.
I remember days where I got like magazines and there was a disc in it, And
There's
on
a
the
disc in it.
a CD, yeah. And on the disc were trailers for movies.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Like, for example, magazines with a DVD basically, and on the DVD was a movie usually, and then some other content stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. But nevertheless, I always try to compare it to other days where we had essentially, I don't know, 1 or 2 big TV shows a year, if even, and that's it. And then maybe, 2-3 movies that came out of cinema that were considered to be, you have to watch it or you must see it because it's so great. And then of course the other stuff. And it's so interesting, especially if you look at the comedy section of that stuff. Like, if you think back, early 2000s, 2005, so many comedies.
We have an episode about that.
Dominated the cinema. Like, comedies were the most grossing movies made at that time. Like American Pie series, for example. All those ranchy teenage comedies. Raunchy. They were massive, and those movies basically dominated the box office.
Well, and even like the spoof movies were really big. So like Scary Movie, that they were so massive.
Yeah. And it's funny because that changed a lot with the Marvel Cinematic Universe starting with Iron Man. But like good comedies you kind of miss nowadays in the cinema. They don't really get made for the cinema anymore.
Nope.
We talked about that in the comedy series. And it's on streaming now, but then a lot of people complain about it, like, you see it on Netflix or you see it on Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever. And you're like, it's not bad, but it's a streaming movie, blah, blah,
I feel like a lot of most movies are streaming now. Most movies that come out or most shows that come out, it's almost all streaming. And which is fine, but I feel like people are just so desperate to like throw out content and throw out like new things where it's like they're just like pushing it out so fast, and you're thinking, okay, if you put maybe a little more time into it, maybe it would be better. But
the problem
I
is
feel
it's
like
not about that.
Because of that though, because they're just throwing it out there so quickly, the writing tends to be a little lazier, and I feel like people's definition I feel like people's definition of what's funny has changed so drastically.
I mean, sure that with I mean, the whole zeitgeist and pop culture and reference and everything changes. So yeah, sure. If you look at comedies now, like old comedies, then some of them are not funny anymore, or they are funny, but you couldn't make those jokes anymore nowadays. Stuff like that. But I think that's not the problem. I also don't think the problem is necessarily the amount of content. Sure,
I do. I think that's a big part of it.
There is if they can't produce 5 Stranger Things shows a year, because they cost so much, for example, or Sex Education. That's also another good example. They can't produce that many, also simply because those actors are, have other things going on, and they can't tie them down. And so it's hard to produce massive hit shows like that. And and especially with streaming, the amount of pilot things are produced simply for streaming and get rejected is insane. Like pilot season is not a thing anymore, basically. Yeah. You make a pilot and you try to sell it to one of the streamers and they pick it up, or the streamer says, okay, we do a pilot and if we like it, we pick it up. And that's how it's done these days. And obviously they can predict if a certain thing is going to be a hit or not. So there might have been amazing shows in the making, but they get canned because of some executive thinking, no, it's not going to work. But at the same time, amazing shows get canned after 1 or 2 seasons because not a lot of people tuned in, because either it was marketed wrong or it was the target audience is very small or narrow or whatever. Or a different thing is also shows come out, they run for 2 years, for 2 seasons or something, and then they got canceled, and after 2 or 3 years everybody discovers it. It's like, what is this amazing show? Why aren't there more seasons? And sometimes things like that get picked up again because the traction is so big. But what I wanted to talk more about is the since we have so much content, it's obviously not always easy to choose. And you also want to be, you know, every streamer basically wants you to be on their streaming platform because that's how they make their money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you you know, cancel your subscription to Netflix because you feel like, okay, they don't have the stuff that I want to watch, then obviously they lose on money and they try to produce something that you are targeted for. And I think a massive problem these days is that a lot of people, like, since there's so much content out there and so much options, a lot of people lose, first of all, sight. And also, I mean, I have been there. I try not to do it. I mean, I did it yesterday. We started watching a movie, and after 20 minutes or so, I said, okay, let's turn it off.
Not even 20 minutes.
Or 10 minutes, yeah. I said, okay, let's turn it off. I'm not at all engaged. And the story is already outlined, so, like,
you already knew exactly what was going to happen,
right?
Essentially.
And so I was like, sure, I like the actors, but I wasn't so, like, I wasn't in the first place super invested in the movie. So I was like a little on the, but I usually don't do that because I honor the work of the makers of the movie. But what I'm
you're rambling. You're all over the place.
Yeah. Not what I want to say is that there's so much good content out there, and compared to like what we got in the early 2000s or even sooner, that if you would release something like that back then, it would be considered a hit, like instant hit in the cinema or on the television, and everybody would talk about it. But since there's so much to compare to and so much good content out there, sure, in the grand scheme of things, there's so much garbage out there too, but there's so much good content out there at the same time, all the time, that obviously you try to choose the best for you.
But I also feel like the good content then gets lost within the crap content, because there are so many good things that come out that maybe nobody talks about, and then you stumble across it and you're like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, why has nobody seen this?
Sure.
Or why is this not more popular? Or why does this get canceled? You know, there have been so many shows that are like really, really good, and not enough people watch it because there's just so much content out there.
Or again,
not enough people watch it and it gets canceled.
Wrong or something. Yeah, sure.
But there are so many examples of that.
Sure. I mean, with streamers, usually they push their own productions, and if you log in and there's a new season of something out, they push it to the top usually, and everybody usually sees it. To just remind you, hey, we have this new season or this new show out. But obviously, sure, things like that get lost. But at the same time, I think that what I don't like is that people complain about things that are really good, only because there might be something better out there. You know what I mean? Sure, I get if you have if you have constructive criticism towards something, like, okay, I didn't like this because, for example, the movie, what was it, Talk to Me, the Australian horror movie, everybody raved about it, and I was like, oh, it's A24, it's basically a first.
It was from the same producers as Smile. It had something to do with Smile. I think it was same producers.
I mean, that doesn't really matter to me, but the directors were YouTubers, and it's the first movie, and it was a cool project, and it's a low budget movie, but I didn't like it for several reasons, because I don't know, mainly because the main characters were written super bad. Like, they were written so dumb.
The thing is, I thought that it was pretty well done for it being like a first movie.
And there were some
in terms of it being a horror movie, it was pretty creepy. There were moments that were like, that's really creepy. Like, they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, sure.
But I think also part of it, I don't think we were the target audience.
No,
I feel like it was definitely more for
teenagers.
Like teenagers or like early 20s, things like that. But I mean, we've talked about that. I have a very high standard of horror movies, so it's harder for me to
the thing is, I
enjoy a horror movie.
I enjoy movies like that, but if and that's what I'm saying, constructive criticism. If you have like something, okay, I don't like this because I can fully the thing is, I know how much effort that goes into making something like that, and how much work, time, and bloodshed is put into things like that. And just to say like, oh, it's garbage, I'm moving on and watching something else, is kind of disrespectful. I mean, it's not meant like that. Obviously, people don't mean it like, oh, you're shitty, you shouldn't make movies anymore. But I feel like it's also unfair, and also again, compared to the early 2000s, a movie like that would have been a hit, like instant hit. And if you look at movies that came out back in the time, probably if you would watch those on streamers for the first time nowadays, you would probably also say, I don't know. Like the Saw series, for example. I don't know if that movie.
There's a new one coming.
I know there's a new one coming, but I don't know if the first one, maybe the
first one was brilliant. I have to say, the
James
first
Wan,
Saw movie was
But
brilliant.
after that, I don't know if those movies would have been on streaming on Netflix, for example, exclusively. I don't know if those movies would have been so massive.
I think they would have, because it became such a cult thing that, I mean, I'll watch. I'm actually excited for the new Saw movie.
Not at all.
I am excited for it, but only because it's, I've been watching them since the first one. I actually think I haven't seen the last two, but because at some point the story got so lost and it was purely about like, how gory can we make this movie? And apparently the new one is like that too. Like at the premiere, they gave people barf bags because they said that it was so gory and so crazy. But I don't know. The other thing you have to think about, though, which I try to be open-minded with movies, even if I don't personally like them, because somebody out there probably does. It's subjective. It's art. It's subjective,
totally,
and so
totally.
It's something that I think there is a standard of like what is brilliant filmmaking versus what is not brilliant filmmaking.
Sure, there is.
But it doesn't
obviously
mean that there's not people, just because there's a movie that we're like, oh, that was garbage, doesn't mean that there are people who maybe they like that movie. Maybe they think it's a great movie.
No, sure. But yeah, sure. No, I sure, obviously. But I don't know. I've heard in the last couple of weeks, I've heard so many times where they're like, oh no, it's so bad. I don't know, blah, blah. I turn it off after blah, blah. It's compared to that is so blah, blah. And I'm like, what do you want? I mean, for example, if I watch a horror movie, I want to be frightened and I want to be entertained. If I feel like it's dumbed down, or if I feel like those characters are so unbelievably dumb written that only because they're so stupid the whole thing works, then sure, I'm annoyed at some point. I'm like, okay, this movie is not for me. But if I watch a horror movie that entertains, that is short-lived, not short-lived, like kurzweilig, like, it's fast-paced. It's fast-paced, and it's not there are no like long stretches in it.
It doesn't drag it out.
It doesn't drag, and it's just entertaining and fun and maybe a little gory or scary. Then that's what I want, and I can't
with well-written characters
sure,
and good dialogue.
There's always something better out there, always. But if I watch that, I want to be that. I want to have that. For example, with the Hulu movie, Nobody Will Save You.
That's so good.
Or No One Will Save You. It's a fun alien horror movie, and sure, it's not perfect. There, you could argue that there are a lot of problems with the movie, but at the same time, it works well.
Yeah, it
the
does.
casting is good. The story is fun. It's creepy at some point.
Well, and I like that there's not so much. I always forget the word. It starts with a C, I think.
Cunt.
Now, when they give too much backstory, what is the word? I always forget it. It doesn't matter. I like movies. There are a lot of movies where they give you so much context, and that's not the word I was looking for, but they give you so much context and so much backstory to like understand the character.
So yeah.
But in that one, they did such a good job of like, there something really serious happened, and you only kind of know part of the story by the end of it. And I like that. I like that they don't go into so much detail about, what happened to her mom, what happened there are some things that never get answered.
That's also not needed for the plot of the movie.
But that's exactly why I like it, because there are so many movies who add way too much of that, where like it's not necessary for the story.
Yeah.
And it, especially for a horror movie, I feel like it adds so much more depth, and
if you leave some things in the dark for a long time, or even for the whole movie, it's much more fun to speculate a little bit, and unless obviously if the ending feels unsatisfying because there's still some
if there's something
missing
necessary that's missing, but things
not
that
even
are
necessary, but if you feel like those things should have been resolved or something, then especially with series, for example, then sure, it feels like unsatisfying. And
but a lot of people gave that movie such crap, and they said it wasn't that good. And I said, I really liked it. I thought it was.
I think it was a good
I'm not
movie.
a huge alien movie kind of person.
I love alien movies,
but I like home invasion movies, and that was kind of a good mix of home invasion and alien movie. And I don't know. I thought it was well written, well acted.
It was a
creepy.
fun movie. It was a fun movie for what it was.
Yeah.
Especially there are not that many movies like that out there these days. And again, if it would come out in 2004, 2003 in the cinema, man, that movie would be amazing, like amazing. And that goes along with a lot of shows these days too. I mean, back in the day, we didn't have that many shows. I looked earlier in the statistics that like per year there were like 3 big shows that were mentionable, and these days there are probably 6 to 9 shows coming out each year. So more than double. And sure, it's harder to choose, especially because you have to choose your time. You know, you have to choose. Okay, what do I waste my time with? Basically, essentially, that's what it is. And yeah, I don't know.
I mean, kind of going away from like movies and series, but staying with content. If you even look at, I think YouTube for me is like another one that's like so. The things that people put out there. Sometimes, I mean, sure, there are some, obviously, again, it's subjective. There are things that some people enjoy and some people don't enjoy. But I don't know. Sometimes there's just, you have the feeling like these people are just putting shit out there just to put shit out there. And it's just mindless, ridiculous. And I think especially more so with YouTube than with series and things that just get thrown out there. But so much of it is just mindless nonsense. You're like, why Reels, are you watching?
TikTok.
Sure, absolutely. But you know, I don't know. YouTube content for me is so like I rarely watch YouTube videos. I'll watch
I have my
GMM and dog training videos, and
I have my subscriptions to some channels, and I watch those regularly if I'm interested in what they put out there, and that's it. I rarely go in a deep dive or suggestions or anything because which is kind of sad sometimes because sometimes you're missing out on great creators.
Sure, but the thing that bothers me the most, I think, about the YouTube content is the kid content that's out there. I remember when Ramses was here, our nephew, my brother's kid, and some of the stuff that he enjoys watching on YouTube is like the most mind-numbingly ridiculous. Like it's just bright flashes, fast movements, like just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I'm like, how are so many people creating content like this? There are so many kids watching it, and I'm like, this has to be killing brain cells.
The problem, not killing brain cells, the problem with all that shit, and you can see it in young adults, teenagers, is the attention span.
Yeah.
They purposefully cut them shorter and shorter and shorter, and a lot of people have trouble following something that is longer than a few seconds.
Yeah, but there's never any like meat to it, you know? It's just loud,
you have something
fast
to waste time.
Yeah.
Especially with young kids, they don't follow storylines that well, so obviously
they're capable of following storylines if it's done right. I mean, there are so many kids shows out there. Like I've mentioned this, I think, on the podcast before, but Daniel Tiger is one of the greatest kid shows I've ever seen in my life.
But that's also probably, what is the starting age of that? Like 2-3 years?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, but before that, people
maybe 3-4.
People look for things before that already. Like, what can I put on to entertain my kid for a while? And that's usually stuff that has no like story or something to follow, but it's just pure flashing lights and colors to keep them busy for a while, which is, I think, not good to a certain degree. I don't know. I had a talk yesterday with a friend talking about the attention span, and I think personally the TikTok and the YouTube shorts and reels and all that stuff, I think, is going away at some point again, simply because a lot of people who are addicted to that or drawn to that will at some point realize that it completely ruins their attention span. And in a real life environment where you maybe have to work or study or whatever, it's super counterproductive.
But do you think people who are already like so addicted to it, do you think that they'll realize and make the connection that that's where it's coming from?
At some point they will, yeah, sure. Because if they go to therapy, if they go to a specialist, they will tell them, hey, you should maybe cut
Sure,
short
but
on those
not
things.
everybody's going to go to therapy or go to a
Sure,
specialist.
but I'm pretty sure, and you can see that, for example, in the reels on Instagram, they already make them longer. You can already upload way longer videos, and it's not only about the short ones, and they push also longer ones. It's not like they only push the short ones. But I think it's very important to. That's why I mean, for me personally, it's not really imaginable, but apparently there are a lot of young adults and young people out there who can't fully sit through a whole movie anymore because their attention span is so short, and after like a few minutes they're like, okay, I'm done with this, I need something new, I need something fresh, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially if you think it further into, okay, I'm sitting in like a classroom and I have to study or I have to listen to the teacher. That's kind of problematic, I think. And that's why I think that that's a phase. And once a lot of people, or the majority, figures out, okay, this is really bad for me, they will move away from that 100%. And that's how the tech companies work. If nobody's watching those things anymore, the numbers go down, then they figure out something else.
Yeah.
I wanted to just quickly give a little statistics about the streaming service because I thought that was very interesting. So, for example, based on the US, the streaming, like music and video streaming, is worth 330 billion, estimate by 2030. So 330 billion. So everything goes streaming basically. Within a US household, 85% have at least one plus streaming subscription. 60% have one music streaming subscription. So music streaming is a little lower. And 15 million years accumulated time Americans streamed in 2021. 15 million years.
Whoa.
That's fucking insane. Yeah. And 80% of users listen to paid audio streaming services via mobile devices, obviously. That's a big thing, like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, I think. Yeah. And it's basically estimate to grow much more, even though after COVID we saw a dip in the subscription again. I mean, made sense. A lot of people were at home, so yeah, sure, I'm going to. I can't go to cinema. I'm going to get Netflix, which is kind of weird that they. I mean, obviously they knew kind of that those numbers would fall again. I mean, sure, but yeah. What was? Oh yeah, here. In 2021, it was reported that 67% of U.S. households had a paid TV subscription, proving that while cord cutting is popular, it has not completely taken over the industry. So people are still paying for TV. So over 60% are still, watching TV, HBO, whatever is out there still. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I mean, also something to consider, and that a lot of people choose based on that. I mean, you pay a lot of money, and 15% of people spend about $50 or more for video streaming subscriptions. I mean, I have to count. We have Netflix, we have Disney Plus, we have Prime. So we pay in that household, we pay at least 25 to 30. I would say $25 a month for streaming, which is okay.
Yeah, it's less than most cable services, isn't it?
Which is okay, but at the same time, I mainly use Disney Plus right now. We watched Sex Education on Netflix.
I use Netflix quite a bit.
You use Netflix way more with all the reality shit, but
Love is Blind.
But I rarely use Netflix these days.
Speaking of good content.
Yeah. I mean, that's subjective. Sometimes you just need something to.
Oh, sure. Now you say that
noise.
on the podcast.
Nah,
you
I'm
talk
not.
about it all nicely. And
it's
when
horrible.
I'm watching, you're like, is that shit?
I mean, if I walk into the room and I hear those people talk, it's like I dumb down instantly.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch that stuff. I could not.
You get past it. You just have to not take it so seriously.
I have so many other shows that I would rather watch, and that I watch before I do that,
I'm not telling you to watch it. I'm just saying, as someone who watches it, you get past it.
If there is a tape and a video recorder and like a TV, and that's the last thing that exists on earth, then I would watch it. Then I really would watch it. Otherwise, if there's something else that is considered
The
to
thing
be
is, I'm the
better.
person who watches those shows who doesn't take them seriously. Like, I know that there are a lot of people who take those shows super
I
seriously,
don't think that matters.
but I watch it more for the entertainment purpose of these people are really stupid, and it's funny to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Streaming is here. I don't know. Obviously here to stay. That's stupid to say that's not the way. But I don't know. I sometimes just want people to be more mindful of things, especially of considerably bigger productions or more, high value productions where they have spent so much time and then it comes out on streaming and people are just like, no shit. Like, hey, yeah, you don't like it. Why didn't you like it? I mean, just hopping from content to content to find something that satisfies your mood or your mind at that point is also not, I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. I'm not going to sit through a really intense drama if I'm not feeling up for a drama. I'm going to watch something different, like a comedy.
But if my attention span is so short that I can't sit through the first 10 minutes without turning it off because it hasn't caught my attention yet, then I think that's problematic, especially for long-term formats, because then you will never watch a good movie.
You're also somebody who does that once in a while. Because a lot of the time we watch a movie and you're sitting on your phone the first 15 to 20 minutes and you're doing something else. That happens pretty often. That's
true.
So.
That's true. But like really, really stopping movie, I rarely do. I super rarely do. Because the thing is, I don't want to, unless the movie is really bad, and then usually we both say, hey, maybe turn it off. Like the one, what was it, the horror movie with the really bad, what was it? The killer was a robot, some sort.
Oh yeah. Did we? I thought we watched the whole thing.
No,
Megan or something.
Not Megan. That was a different movie. No, it was a B movie, a slasher B movie, where it started out at this little town and they were in this animatronic thing, and that robots started to go haywire and kill people, and at 20 minutes in we said, okay, fuck the movie.
Yeah, but not the one with Nick Cage, because that one we enjoyed. No. But the one that was like it, you mean? No,
it wasn't like it. It was nothing like it.
There was another movie that came out that was almost identical to the Nick Cage movie.
Yeah, but we didn't watch that one.
I'm thinking of the AI robot movie.
It was
with
one
the doll. I think it was called Megan.
We watched Megan. It was horrible.
It was horrible.
It was a B movie. It was marketed right because it caught my attention, and the ratings weren't that bad, but it was just trashy B shit.
I don't remember that one then.
And I remember after the robot went to a house and the killing was so bad, like the perspective and the camera angles and everything was so bad, we said, okay, let's turn that shit off. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I hope that episode was kind of interesting to you people. Otherwise, I don't care. Some episodes might be boring, some not. But please follow us on Spotify.
Kind of contradicts your whole tone of the episode. So does the last thing you said, but that's okay.
Please follow us on Spotify and Apple. If you are not following us yet, please just follow us. That helps us a lot. Even if you don't listen to every episode, please rate the podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify. You can rate it via stars. And if you want to help us out, you head over to our Patreon where Joe is waiting.
Hey Joe.
And until next time, goodbye.
Watch out for deer.